What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical average American here today to react and learn about complex and unique aspects of British culture. And today I really want to specifically take a look at this fascinating Reddit discussion where Brits are answering the question, what is a really complex aspect of British culture that we may take for granted in Britain that foreigners really wouldn't get easily? That is fascinating. I think this is going to have a lot more discussion on more complicated, more interesting, kind of obscure things about British culture. I know a bit about British food. Our accents are different. We drive on different sides of the road. Okay, that stuff is kind of face value. But this stuff I want to read about is a little bit deeper, like about British social customs, how British society works, differences in how British society operates and thinks, and stuff like that I don't think I've ever heard before. So let's take a look at some of the answers to this. I've been thinking about this recently when I was trying to explain to somebody from the US about Morris dancing. Morris dancing. I don't know what that is. Its place in some English towns and why middle-aged blokes are into it. It got me thinking whether there's better examples of more well-known stuff that foreigners would struggle to comprehend. Can I comprehend Morris dancing? I don't know. I kind of want to look it up. What is this? The Morris dancing is a traditional English folk dance, involves rhythmic stepping, choreographed figures performed by groups of men trained in rural England. No kidding. Oh, look at this. Yeah, okay. English folk dancing, just dancing around. That's not, I can wrap my head around that. We don't have anything like that in the United States, but I can get around, I can be down with the idea of middle-aged men dancing for the honor of England. That's fine. All right, well, let's keep going. That is something I didn't know, so we're off to a good start. I think our class structure, the British class structure, and the culture around that is pretty unique, complex, and weird. I haven't lived everywhere else to compare, but I know a lot of foreigners from the US and Europe who think it's strange, and I can't even really explain it to them. I have heard of the concept of British class structure. It is strange or complex, really. I don't understand all of it. I know, you can tell someone's class by their accent, or maybe nowadays it's more about their financial status, or yeah, this idea of British class structure is real interesting. I don't know much about it. A lot of younger Brits don't even really understand British class structure anymore. They think it's just about how much money you have. That's what I thought as well, although I know British class structure has like a history to it. So yeah, younger people wouldn't really know as much, haven't experienced it. I just know it has to do with literally your class in society is reflected in your accent, or at least that's how it used to be, I believe. BBC wrote an interesting piece a few years ago based off research that there might now be more social classes. The most prominent now being the well-educated middle class that is also property poor. Oh yeah, so there's new social classes being invented still to this day. But I'm pretty sure there's like a classic English or British really. I'm not exactly sure, honestly. I think it's more of a British social class culture that used to exist anyway. I don't know. I think it still does. Like you got, at least in the form of there's royalty, there's upper class, there's middle class, there's the lower class. At least that kind of thing. I think more detailed than that. I don't know the specifics, but something like that. And it was quite difficult to move between classes. And in the modern day, maybe there's a little more opportunity to kind of move between social classes. But don't quote me on that. That's just off the top of my head what I think I understand about all that. But that's a good answer because as a foreigner, as an American, I don't understand British social classes. I don't. I'll admit it. All right, let's keep going. This is fascinating. Subtleties of languages that other nations don't pick up on. For instance, in a meeting, you'd say, "That's an interesting idea, but let's talk about the other idea for now." That doesn't work for Americans. They're like, "My idea was interesting. When can we discuss it?" Okay, this is fair. This is fair. I'm chuckling because it's true. I think that's why I think it's funny. I think Americans are definitely, as far as cultures go, it's taken a while for me to even have the self reflection to identify this, but Americans are definitely a lot more self centered than a lot of other cultures, it seems. Like in America, we're taught focus on yourself, hustle, grind. You want to be first place. Second is the first loser. Like it's very much a winner take all kind of culture, philosophy that we're taught here as kids. Definitely taught to be the best. Do what you got to do to be the best. Make sure you come out in front. Be the biggest and loudest. Make your opinions known. Whereas I think in other cultures like Britain, there's more of a sense of contribute to society, be a part of the community kind of thing. You know, this is generalizations, but I think this is really accurate, and it kind of reflects this thought here that in Britain, you'd be like, oh, that's interesting, but can we talk about this right now? And in America, it's everyone fighting over, hey, I want to talk. Let's talk about what I care about. Let's talk about my idea. That's definitely what we're encouraged to do growing up. That's how you're taught to get ahead. Make it about you. Yeah. The other day, there was a Today I Learned, a fact about a squad of British soldiers being lost because an officer told their American backup they were in a bit of a sticky situation. To me, that screams, send help immediately. When you break it down, it really doesn't. This is like a communications issue. So to a British person, I'm in a bit of a sticky situation might mean like more urgency, like help. But to an American, yeah, reading that doesn't seem very urgent to me. Is that an American thing? I'm in a bit of a sticky situation. I mean, if you need help, that's not what I would go with. I would go with send help now. We're dying. That's what I'd go with, but that's just me. Let's keep going. I'm enjoying these. These are much more interesting, or at least deeper, less obvious, like aspects of British culture. That's the best way to put it. Because it's also interesting learning about like the aspects of British culture that are very in your face, like the accents and the geography and history, things that you can look up. But this kind of stuff is interesting in a different way. It's stuff you have to kind of be told, because it's about British society or ways of thinking and communicating. So that's why I think this is actually interesting, very interesting in a different way. Panto. I've lived here for 25 years, but it still makes no sense to me. Panto? What is panto? Other immigrants I've worked with over the years don't get it either. Panto? What's panto? I don't get it either. Pantomime? Are we talking about mimes? Are we talking? Hold on. British? Let me look up panto British. Are we talking about pantomimes? Pantomime is a theatrical performance traditionally performed at Christmas time. Hey, it's Christmas time about now. This is perfect. This is a British thing? Pantomime? Oh my. Oh, okay. Is this right? People dressing up in crazy costumes? Putting on shows? This isn't what I think of as a like pantomime, like a silent performer. A mime? Panto? I had no idea about this. Oh, yes, we do. What? Panto? Did I look up the right thing? Is that what panto is? I've never seen that before. That is certainly an aspect of British culture I've not seen before. Okay, interesting. Moving right along. Accents and where they come from. I've been here more than a decade, and I can just about tell you which general area someone's from based on their accent. Okay. This is a very British thing, but it is something like, even as an American, I can understand this pretty easily. Although, I don't think it's as exaggerated here in America. There's parts of America that are pretty darn specific that have accents, like a Boston accent, a New York accent, New York City accent. It gets pretty darn specific. But I mean, from what I understand in Britain, you can almost tell what street someone was raised on based on their accent sometimes. Is that an exaggeration or is that true? Because that's insane to me. That's taking accent to another level. And I definitely can't hear the difference between British accents. My ear does not have the training. My partner, who for these purposes is British, can practically tell you which postcode someone's from. So they can get pretty. You can tell where where the area someone was raised in. You can narrow it down pretty darn small. That's pretty cool. That's real interesting actually. I found this fascinating when I moved here as well. My friend is from Dartford, her husband Yorkshire. We have cousins in North Wales. When you get all these people in a room together, it's striking how a relatively small group of islands can have such a huge array of accents. We had that in the US, but maybe it's just spread out more. Yeah, I think it's just incredible how small of an area Great Britain is. Like, it makes sense that in the United States, 50 different states, which are almost like 50 different countries at times, it feels like. That makes sense to me. There's different accents for the South and the West Coast and East Coast, and then individual states, Texas accent, Kentucky accent, are all things here. And they're all unique. But Great Britain is much smaller. And there's maybe more accents. That's the incredible thing. How does that happen? It's pretty cool, though. Pretty cool. All right, what other complex, unique aspects of British culture are there? Our dry sense of humor. Yeah. I like to think that I kind of understand this. I enjoy a lot of the British comedy that I've reacted to as well. But I think a lot of Americans do not understand or relate to the British sense of humor. It's very dry. It's very sarcastic, self-deprecating. Americans we're not willing to deprecate ourselves. We're not willing to make fun of ourselves so much. We're not willing to be the butt of the joke. Brits are, and it's hilarious and fantastic. We insult each other for fun. Right, that as well. That as well. The idea that you're insulting each other to show that you like each other is tough for a lot of Americans who would get offended. And we insult each other for fun in a dry, ironic manner foreign people sometimes miss. I work with several people from various European countries and the occasional American. I'm a welder. I do various projects. I was asked to help polish a machine that was being reconditioned. I removed it, polished it, and went over to the American that was supervising and told him I'd successfully removed his penis. He did not look up. What? Wait, what? What are we talking about here? You're right, I don't get it. Wait. Oh, I missed this part. I had to polish a machine that was being reconditioned for a secondhand sale, and it had a male genital scratched into the steel near the control panel. Okay, I missed a very, very important part. I was like about to say, you're right, I don't understand British humor. Got it. All right. It was carved in, and he polished it out and said he removed. Okay. Now it's funny. Yeah, man. Yeah, maybe Americans need a little a little, I don't know, to lighten up sometimes. I think a lot of Americans, a healthy amount of Americans, do appreciate the British sense of humor, though. We do. What else do we have? Aspects of British culture. Pub etiquette? Yes. Right. I mean, pubs are not even a thing here. We have bars, but I've tried to learn about pubs, British pubs. They're a whole different beast. A whole thing. There's a lot to British pubs actually that I still don't understand. They sound amazing. It's very different than an American bar. So I could see Americans really making a mess in British pub etiquette. Take your pick, but let's start with queuing. Yeah. Yeah. Americans are terrible at queuing as well. Here in the United States, it's a disaster. You nudge up to the bar, and the staff try to recognize who is first. Their choice of who gets served is arbitrary. Okay, this is the American experience. Yes, yes. The bartender just arbitrarily gets to, guess who is there first, based on whether they are perceptive. They could be lazy, kind, unkind, find you attractive or less attractive. Yeah, American bars, the queuing is a mess. The culture is a mess. The honor found in the British pub is nowhere to be found. There's also a semi-tactic agreement that the person selected will say, "Oh, you were next," if they're not the next in line. But it's not rigid. Ignore this rule and nothing will be said. Yeah, don't get me wrong. In America, there's some kind people, of course. But nothing like what I have learned about British pub etiquette, which is very, steadfast and hardcore, and people actually really stick to, wait in the queuing properly, and being like, oh no, they were here first. And I think you also return your glassware to the counter, which is different. And I think you don't wait for waiters. Waiters don't bring you everything to the table, or I'm not sure if that's true. I forget. There's a lot of differences. A lot of differences between pubs and American bars. You can hold or wave a note on your card around to show you aren't just standing there, because some people get their drink and just stand there in the way of a system where you're meant to queue. Some will sit at the bar, despite this not being a country where there's assumed table service, meaning you can't just flag the bar's staff's attention when you arrived and then go sit down. Yeah, okay, so basically, oh my god, this goes on for a long time. The bar culture in America is a wreck and chaos, and the pub culture in Britain seems a lot better, a lot more orderly and respectful. I think that's totally accurate. I do. So what else do we have here? Any more complex, unique aspects of British culture? Extremely local traditions. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So within Britain, every unique place or area has its own traditions. Do British people, are you aware of the traditions of other local areas or just your own? Because obviously, as Americans, as foreigners, I would have no idea about any local traditions. As an example, the pearly kings and queens are a very local quirk of only particular parts of London. Pearly kings and queens? What is that? What's that mean? Oh, here we go. Famous image of London. What is this? Okay. Known for their, distinctive costumes and button festooned suits. They're an iconic symbol of London life. Oh, is there a picture? What is this? Is that them? Whoa! Oh, these are some amazing costumes. The pearly kings and queens? I had no idea. I had no idea. So you just whip out your fancy pearled suit and show off? When does this happen? This is amazing. Okay. Cooper's Hill cheese rolling and the Yorkshire pudding boat race. This is amazing. I think the local regions of UK have very specific traditions that might not be widely known about, even in the rest of the UK. Yes, trying to explain traditions like this might lead to some confusion. Just the fact that it only exists in a tiny area of Britain. Yes, that's very true. Very true. Yeah, there's not really too much stuff like that that I know about in the United States, but then again, I don't know the local traditions of the rest of the United States, only places that I've lived. So I guess that'd be true if you're in Britain as well, but I don't think we have cool stuff like the pearly suits. The pearly kings and queens and the cheese rolling and the pudding races. That's some of the most British stuff I've ever heard, which is amazing. That's exactly why I wanted to take a look at this discussion. I think there's a lot of really, really interesting, kind of random, kind of fantastic, like obscure aspects of British culture here that I learned about that I don't think I'd really hear about anywhere else. And that's why I love looking at discussions like this. I really, really got a lot out of this. And I enjoyed this quite a bit. That was fascinating. Anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment, perhaps with an aspect of British culture you think most foreigners don't know, or Americans like myself just don't know, because it's too obscure. That'd be fascinating to hear about. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Britain and British culture and stuff about Britain I've never seen or learned before, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching and see you next time.